Sit back and throw one back with your pinky in the air and a middle finger to the world and join me, the eclectic gentleman Stephen Watts, as we look back on this day in pro wrestling history. But before we do, put that drink down, like, share, and subscribe, and without further ado, let's get our wrestling history on. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is May 19th, and we're going to start off as we always do on a positive note. That's right, these are your pro wrestling birthdays. 1919, 1960s German terror, Karl von Hess. 1946, the eighth wonder of the world, Andre the Giant. 1985, watch out for that mask, that black mask, Aleister Black. And last but not least, 1992, Kip Sabian. And we're going to keep that positivity train a-rolling. That's right, these are your pro wrestling history highlights for May 19th. Getting in that Wayback Machine and going way back to 1905, Tom Jenkins defeats Frank Gotch to retain the American Heavyweight Championship in Madison Square Garden in New York City, in a bout that totaled a match time of 2 hours, 15 minutes, and 34 seconds. The first fall was taken by Jenkins at 1 hour, 27 minutes and 57 seconds. Gotch scored the second fall at 36 minutes and 27 seconds. And Jenkins won the match in 11 minutes and 10 seconds of the third fall. Now going super fast forward almost 60 years to 1963. The Destroyer, Dick Beyer, defeats the legendary Rikidozan in Osaka, Japan, making him an instant star in that country. It marks the last time that Rikidozan would ever lose a singles match. Fast forwarding now 12 years to 1975, the Worldwide Wrestling Federation runs Madison Square Garden, headlined by Waldo Von Erich, defeating world champion Bruno Sammartino when the match was stopped due to blood loss. No title change. Grabbing our boomboxes and going to the 80s, 1981, it was officially announced by the American Wrestling Association that due to Verne Gagne retiring and vacating the AWA World Heavyweight title, that Nick Bockwinkel, the former champion and current number one contender, was being awarded the belt. 1984, Roddy Piper, Paul Orndorff, and David Schultz defeat Rocky Johnson, Special Delivery Jones, and Bobo Brazil, substituting for Tony Atlas, at 9 minutes and 32 seconds when Piper pinned Jones after hitting him in the back of the head with a foreign object. After the bout, Monsoon interviewed Brazil at ringside. The match marked Brazil's return to the WWF after a 6-year absence. Grabbing our flannels and going to the decade of grunge, 1990, the NWA held their Capital Combat pay-per-view in Washington, D.C. at the D.C. Armory. In the main event, Lex Luger defeated NWA World Champion Ric Flair via disqualification in a steel cage match. The Four Horsemen interfered and put Sting, who was at ringside in a smaller cage, used earlier in the night to prevent Jim Cornette from interfering in the Midnight Express match. And RoboCop, yes, you're hearing me right, came down and bent the bars of the cage to free Sting. 1991, WCW holds the first ever Super Brawl pay-per-view at the Bayfront Center in St. Petersburg, Florida, with such matches as El Gigante defeating Sid Vicious in a stretcher match in under 3 minutes without actually using a stretcher. This was the final match of this run in WCW for Sid, who had already agreed to go to the WWF. Bobby Eaton defeating Arn Anderson for the WCW television title, and Ric Flair in the main event defeating Tsunami Fujinami. 1995, Razor Ramon defeats Jeff Jarrett in Montreal, Quebec to win the WWF Intercontinental Championship in a ladder match, marking Ramon's third title reign. Sticking in 1995, Extreme Championship Wrestling run Hazleton, Pennsylvania at the St. Joseph High School before 225 fans for day one of the Malenko Guerrero Classic weekend, where the competitors would face off in 3 matches in 2 days for the ECW World Television Championship. In the first bout, reigning champion Eddie Guerrero defeated Dean Malenko. 1996, in one of the most infamous moments in professional wrestling history, Razor Ramon, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and Shawn Michaels, The Click, performed the curtain call. Staying in 1996, WCW holds Slamboree. In the main event, the Giant defeats Sting to retain the WCW World Heavyweight title. Those were your pro wrestling history highlights for May 19th. I'm the Eclectic Gentleman, Stephen Watts, and we'll see you tomorrow.